Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here today for our Cisco Validated Virtual Event Series. Today, we'll be covering Cross Architecture Lab Overview. My name is Carlo Bobilas, Community Manager on the Cisco Learning Network, and I'll be your host for this session. If you are tuning in but have not officially registered for the program, I highly encourage you to do so by scanning the QR code on your screen. It'll be a good way to be notified of upcoming live streams and be informed when they are available on demand. Now, I just want to cover the Q&A portion of the event. We'll be using Slido for these activities, as well as for questions you have during the live event. One important note regarding Slido is that participation for Q&A is exclusively for the live audience. So if you're catching the session on demand at a later time, the Slido QR code might not be active. So just something to keep in mind. If you haven't done so already, you can log into Slido by scanning the QR code on the screen with your mobile device or by logging directly through our live stream page. Last but not least, we'll be launching a survey at the end of the virtual event using Slido, and we would appreciate it if you could take a moment to fill it out and share with us any thoughts and feedback. So without any further delay, I'd like to introduce Andre Laurent, lead Cisco Validated, to give a few words. Andre?
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Everyone, I'm Andre Laurent. I lead Cisco Validated for Cisco. I'm really excited today to introduce a few of our stunning solutions engineers that are out there consulting with our customers in the field. They've built some extremely powerful capabilities in the form of these labs that they can use with customers as part of the engagement. We work very closely with solutions engineering and delivery engineering, both within Cisco and our partner organizations, making sure we have a finger on the pulse at all times. We're sharing best practices back and forth. We're understanding requirements so that we can do a better job for you. Cisco Validated is simple. It's all about two things, right? Providing you the evidence that you need to be successful and providing you the guidance you need to be successful as a practitioner. So with that, Travis Jones, Matt Akuma, appreciate you guys joining the call and leading this webinar series. And I hope everyone out there, if you're a customer or a partner, definitely reach out to your account SE. Make sure that you're understanding what's here and what's available for you to be successful in your learning, experiencing, and validating of these different solutions.
Yeah, thanks, Andre. So I'll get us started here with some quick intros. So myself, Matt Okuma, I am a solutions engineer in the U.S. commercial segment. With me, I have Travis Jones, and he'll introduce himself in a little bit. So I've been at Cisco going on 14 years now, working very closely with commercial customers. And this lab is something that Travis and I built together for you, the field, and the practitioner community. And we're very, very excited for us to walk you guys through an overview of it today. So Travis, you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Matt. Travis Jones, I too am a solutions engineer. I cover our SLED United segment, so east and west of the U.S. Focus on really on high-end, routing designs. Coming up on 25 years at Cisco, and as Matt said, we're very excited to bring to you this cross architecture experience lab that Matt and I have been building over the past year or so. It's been very, very successful at events such as Cisco Live, Cisco Connect, even in front of customers as well. So we're happy to deliver that to you.
Yeah, and so when Travis and I set out to develop this lab, him and I speaking with the field and speaking with our customers, we really established a mission that was to create a lab like did not exist within Cisco anywhere, right? It was really the Swiss Army knives of labs was our lab mission, and was really to provide a networking platform lab that really elevates all of our technical excellence, both the practitioner community, the customer community, and also to provide a very innovative learning and development environment. And we're super excited for this series to walk you guys through it. But Travis, what were some of our other guiding principles of the lab?
Yeah. Some of the other principles, Matt, were, to bring along a multi-domain topology. So many times when you're doing a lab or a D-Cloud lab, it's on one specific technology and you kind of go deep into it. This is really just an experience lab with multiple domains. So it's not really super deep, but it's very extensible, meaning we can add additional services. We can extend it to your house, extend it to a customer. So those services, we can add in as simple as dropping in another VM to bring up something like Splunk. So this gives you a lot of flexibility to say, customer use case testing, you could do that. But one of the idea things is just get some hands-on experience. There have been several folks that maybe haven't seen Catalyst Center or haven't had the opportunity to configure something such as EVPN. That is all in this lab. That'll help you, be a more trusted advisor to your customer, and also elevate your own technical excellence. So it's really just like Matt said, is a Swiss Army knife of trying to bring together a lot of technologies into one lab. Not really deep, but allowing you to do, these extensive demos that may demo a bunch of technologies at one time. So you're not hopping around between different environments and trying to tell a customer, well, this is how you would stitch this to that. We're going to bring it all together for you in one lab. So let's look a little bit at the lab components, is what's actually in this lab. It is hosted in dCloud. It is a combination of physical hardware and logical hardware, right? VMs. What's in there physically in the campus side, there's actually 3 Catalyst switches that you can interact with. These are not virtual, these are physical switches with workstations attached that you can interact with as well. There's access points for wireless, there's wireless LAN controllers. The big part of the demo around this is being able to test, macro and micro segmentation. So if your customer's on a journey for secure networking, this is a good lab to do that demo. You'll be able to dive in and look at the logs and ICE. You'll be able to dive in and look at, on the switch, did the authentication actually occur? Is it actually working? From an architecture perspective, we're going to the architecture itself today is built on EVPN. So you will configure an EVPN fabric in this lab. It's integrated to SD-WAN. So, if you're talking to your customers, well, how do I integrate my campus to SD-WAN or my data center to SD-WAN? This is in here. At a basic construct level, you'll be able to demo that. We have observability in here with Thousand Eyes. We have collaboration with WebEx. We have security with Firepower and FTD, along with the ICE components. The WAN is built out with SD-WAN with a physical ISR router. You get the opportunity to convert that router in this lab to from autonomous to SD-WAN mode. So for your customers that are an existing ISR or maybe a Cat 8K and they want to convert to SD-WAN, you have the opportunity to see what that process looks like in here. Again, there's some 8000 Vs. Again, the micro segmentation will be demoed. There's an option to go to public cloud. And like I said, the lab is extensible. You can extend it to a home network, to a customer network. If you if you need that capability, you can certainly do that on your own and build it out. All the devices in here have full admin rights. You're able to do whatever your heart sees content with the lab. If you want to add on to it, make it your own, you can certainly do that. Matt, would you like to cover what else is in the lab?
Yeah, I'll cover the bottom here. So one thing when Travis and I were building this lab that we really wanted to focus on was creating a topology that would really simulate a real world customer environment and allow us to test a myriad of use cases and have the flexibility to write different use cases that you, the practitioner, are trying to do both for your customers and for your partners. And one of the main things is we built it everything real world. So we have Active Directory, we have services like DNS, DHCP, NTP, all integrated across the lab. So that if you wanted to jump into the AD or directory services and look at how we did DHCP, for instance, in a fabric, in our EVPN fabric, which is a little bit different, you can do that. We're also using a newer capability within the dCloud platform where any of our SaaS-based services, in this instance, like Thousand Eyes or a WebEx organization, we can spin those services up and tie them to the lab session, which makes it really, really nice, as well as things like AWS accounts, O365 accounts. So we can really start to show real customer, real world use cases, right, across the infrastructure. I mean, the only other thing that I would highlight is, like Travis mentioned, this is very, very secure networking focused, right? Being able to see common policy, coupling it with really tightly with ICE and our security group tags, but using those tags in a way distributed across the infrastructure to really provide end-to-end macro and micro segmentation. And in later live streams and sessions, we'll actually be configuring these things and demoing live for you guys. So you're definitely going to want to circle back and catch the upcoming sessions as we dive deeper in this. But now I'm going to jump over and let's start actually showing you guys the cool lab topology here that we came up with. Travis, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure, Matt. So this is the lab topology that we have built in the cross architecture experience lab today. And I typically go from left to right when I'm explaining this diagram. So starting on the left, you can see there's a Catalyst EVPN fabric that you will actually construct and build. Inside of that fabric or attached to that fabric, you can see there's 3 workstations on the left. You will be able to interact with those workstations from both a wired and wireless perspective. We have the ability via some controllers that are not shown on here to actually simulate, shutting down or unplugging and plugging back in the NIC. So you can, uh, reinvigorate the 802.1x process when you're authenticating to the network. So you'll be able to interact with those workstations just as you were physically there and be able to unplug the wire. On those workstations, you will deploy Thousand Eyes eventually through the lab, and there's also WebEx clients on there as well. So you'll interact with those workstations from both a wired and wireless perspective, and they are attached to those Catalyst 9300 switches. So you will have 2 leaf switches available to you. You'll have SSH access into those switches to bring up the fabric. The underlay will already be configured for you when you get the lab. So it'll be a basic OSPF area 0 with point-to-point links, and you will do all the overlay configuration on top. There's also a couple of wireless APs out there that you will bring up as well and attach those over to the wireless LAN controller. The orange and red and blue boxes are simulating VRFs in here. So this is for your macro segmentation. So those VRFs are defined on the switches, and as the workstations authenticate, they will be placed into the appropriate secure segment zone and be assigned an SGT when you get in the end of the lab. So you'll be able to test macro and micro segmentation in the fabric. If you notice the Catalyst 9300-3, that's the EVPN border spine. That border spine is physically connected to an ISR 4K router that when you get this router, it will be in autonomous mode. So you will go through the process of converting it to controller mode and putting basically a day 0 bootstrap config in Flash and reloading it and attaching it over to the vManage, vBond, and vSmart infrastructure in the top right. You may notice some little circles above the lab, the routers and in there. Those are loopback interfaces to allow you to simulate having a host in a VRF. So now you can test your macro and micro segmentation. That ISR 4K router in the middle is attached over to an SD-WAN router 8kV. That's attached into our data center network on the right where all your services are. The 8kV also has a secure firewall segment attached to it. So there's an FTD that is subscribed to an FMC instance that you will be utilizing to test the ability to for the FTD to process an SGT via a PX grid connection over to ICE. So there's an app server there, and you will be enabling and disabling rules in there. You will actually create the rule in FMC, push it to the FTE, and test that SGT process. You can see the other services on the right. There's some Ubuntu hosts over there. There's FMC, wireless LAN controller. We also have Catalyst Center in here. So these devices will be discovered and provisioned in Cat Center. And you can see your ICE instance in Active Directory and DNS DHCP. So like Matt had mentioned earlier, we tried to mock up with what we had, what you might see in a customer network. But again, the whole lab is really focused around secure network and the integration of domains. Matt, did I miss anything that you'd like to add?
No, I think that's a great overview. I just doubled down a little bit on the secure networking. So, in looking at like use cases from different customers out there, it really, we did our best to try to simulate every use case that you could think of. And typically you have an IoT type network segment where you have headless devices or IoT cameras, things like that. A prod network where you have maybe a production application, and then a main network where sort of all the normal users fall into, right? So we really tried to structure it around that and create a framework around different use cases to step through to show how you can do common policy across a wired and a wireless infrastructure very, very easily, and really push and pull changes very, very quickly to your policy. And then also using those same policies on the secure network segment with that FTD firewall. So being able to see dynamic attribute policies, right? So we're going to walk through in subsequent webinars. We're going to show you guys how we build this infrastructure end to end. This is just the basic platform topology that we're handing off in the lab. any use case that you can think of. And that's where we want to get feedback from you guys. If you could post comments or let us know what you'd like to see. Travis and I are more than happy to write use cases and demo on further sessions. So let's jump into, and Travis, why don't you start walking through the actual activities that we have built today that we're planning to go through in subsequent webinars.
Sure, Matt. So some of these I covered on the slide, but your first task you're going to go in here is just going to convert this. You're going to be handed a router that's in autonomous mode, and we're going to go into SD-WAN Manager and grab a base device template and copy it over to the flash, and we're going to reboot it in controller mode. So that's one of your first tasks. Probably one of the main ones that you're going to be working on is configuring a BGP EVPN campus fabric. So you will configure those 3 switches with EVPN. And then you're going to integrate that to SD-WAN fabric. So you will go back into SD-WAN Manager and you will grab another template that we created, a device template, and apply it to the router. And we'll plug in the appropriate values to bring up the integration between BGP EVPN and SD-WAN. And based on that previous diagram, that was a VRF-like connection between the two, carrying with just sub interfaces between the two domains. After that is done and you have a fully operational network, now we can go into Cat Center and we're going to discover and provision the devices. So we'll set up a discovery job. We'll discover the switches and the wireless LAN controller, put those in inventory, and then we'll provision them, which when you provision them, it will now put them in ICE for you as well as network access devices. Once that is done, now we get to interact with the workstations. So now we're going to configure and test the end-to-end segmentation, the macro and micro SGT. So we'll have some simple policies created in ICE that ICE is integrated to DNAT. So you will enable and disable a policy in DNAT to enforce the micro segmentation via SGTs. Then we'll go in and look and understand the ICE authentication. If we need to troubleshoot it, we can go look at the ICE logs, the authorization policies and live logs. In addition, we've also put a step in there where you can log into the switch and go look at the authorization policy on the switch as well, so we can make sure that our policy is indeed working as it should. Matt?
Yeah, and then so after that, we'll be configuring a 9800 WLC for Flex Connect. So we'll walk you guys through what that looks like, getting that all set up. And then we'll use a Firepower and FMC to really showcase, sort of like data center segmentation. We'll provide some threat intelligence, basic firewalling type policies to protect network traffic. But then we will use those SGT dynamic attribute policies. So the same SGTs, we show the segmentation on the campus side. We're going to show using those same SGTs in cooperation with ICE to enforce policy on that secure network segment. So a very, very powerful thing to see and utilize in your environment. So we're excited to show you dynamic attribute policy. And then lastly, we're going to step through some cross-architecture integration, even at a higher level, with observability with Thousand Eyes. So we're going to use Catalyst Center, and we're going to push the Thousand Eyes clients to the Catalyst switches, and then create some dynamic session testing. So this is where, once we have the agents as well on the workstations, we can start to understand WebEx traffic. We'll show us a tight integration between Thousand Eyes and the WebEx org, and be able to show as soon as you spin up a call, we can automatically start testing the communication between the client and WebEx and show you how that monitoring looks. So that's really all the lab activities that we have built. Like we said, we'd love your feedback on others you'd like to see in use cases. But Travis, why don't I turn it over to you to kind of show the lab guide that really drives all these current built use cases for the lab.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Okay, so we'll just give you a sneak peek of the lab guide, and Matt and I've created a very kind of interactive lab guide here. We have your lab access and your topology. We'll give you your passwords. We have things broken out into very simple tasks. Everything's going to be accessed through a jump host, so your tasks are very well identified as to identify your router when you reload it and you're going to convert it to SD-WAN mode. We also have the topology in here for you as well, so you can click topology, it'll come back. But if I want to step back in here, and there's this lab guide's very interactive. The tasks are, to do the task at the bottom, you gotta build it up from the top down. So if you don't have the network running, obviously, then Thousand Eyes and WebEx are not going to work. So you're going to build this from ground up. One of the nice things we did with when you're building this EVPN, we chose to build it via CLI, so folks can get their hands dirty and understand some of the underpinnings, how EVPN works, instead of doing any automation. So there are configs in here. We've made it very simple when you utilize this lab guide. There's a copy right here. You can copy and you can paste the configs into the devices, or you're welcome to do the old style, cut or highlight it, or you can type it in. But we've made it very simple to go through the lab guide. There's approximately 12 steps just to configure the EVPN, but you can see our tasks go all the way up to task 12. We've added some appendix on how to interact with the workstations, how to get the WebEx credentials. And then we added recently, what are all these templates built out of? So when you go into SD-WAN Manager, these are all the templates that we use to build the fabric, the SD-WAN fabric. So we put that in here as a reference, but you can see the lab guide is, very interactive, very easy to work with, to get around. It's been very well received for the customers that have ran through the lab. We get great feedback on the lab guide. That's all I have to show for the lab guide.
Yeah, why don't we jump back over before we go to Q&A, just to jump back over to the slides. And one thing that we wanted to highlight is the upcoming different sessions that we're going to have. So you can see that we just did the lab overview today. We know you guys want to get technical depth and get to see the under the covers on configuring and going through the lab. So Travis and I will be going through at these later dates very deep into each one of the topics that we highlighted. So we will be configuring the campus fabric in the next session on November 7th. So you'll get to see exactly how Travis is probably the best at BGP EVPN out there, and he'll be diving super deep into how we construct that, the mechanics of EVPN and how fabrics work and all those great things. Then we'll be integrating that fabric into SD-WAN, and then bringing us to January, we'll start to look at integrating Catalyst Center and showing off the segmentation. And then with your feedback throughout all these, we hope you join all of them. We'll continue to develop additional sessions and take your feedback and incorporate them in. So I guess now, why don't we jump over and address some of the questions?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much. Great overview. Again, if you have a question for our presenters, go ahead, and if you haven't done so, scan that QR code to Slido so that you can go ahead and ask your questions there. Let's go ahead and take a look at our first question. The one that came up often was, how can we access the lab? So would you guys be able to provide that? Perfect.
Yeah, so the easy way to access your lab is to reach out to your Cisco account team, your Cisco representative. If you do not know who that is, just feel free to hit us up in the comments and chat, and we'll be more than happy to work with you. But once you're in contact with them, we can work on scheduling it. Because it does have physical hardware, there is an element of scheduling it, but definitely reach out, work with your Cisco account team. We'd love for you to get your hands on this and get your feedback. We've said, we've ran it at Cisco Live. We ran it at different Tech Day events. If there's Tech Day events coming up in your area, look for the Cross Architecture Lab. That will be this lab. It's starting to run at Cisco Tech Days as well. So yeah, we definitely want to accommodate everyone that wants to get their hands on it, and we look forward to working with you guys on it.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that. And then Dominic asked if they're trying to figure out if is this a new product like CML, or is it a sandbox like dCloud?
I can take that.
Yeah,
so the lab itself is hosted in dCloud. It was built with an extension in dCloud called Topology Builder. So it's basically, you can think of Topology Builder as a drag and drop palette for different VMs. However, this one has some hardware in it as well. So I mentioned there were 3 switches and a router. So this is built in dCloud, like Matt had said, if you want to schedule it, work with your account team, and they'll have some parameters around scheduling it, and then we can release the lab. So, but no, it's really not the, I guess the newer part of it is really Topology Builder, but that's been around for a couple of years. But it is hosted in on the D Cloud platform.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Question is, what are the differences between macro and micro segmentation? And Travis, maybe you can take that as well.
I can take that, sure. So at a high level, macro and micro segmentation. Macro segmentation is typically done from a networking perspective. It's a VRF, or a virtual routing and forwarding instance in a router or switch. It's basically an isolated routing domain, and we call that macro segmentation. So that's your first level of segmentation within a network. So it from a construct of the OSI model, it operates at layer 3, or like a VLAN operates at layer 2. That is a level of segmentation, but it's not a level of segmenting at the routing level. So that's macro segmentation, and it's typically done with a VRF construct. Micro segmentation, on the other hand, when we define these two together, is the ability to segment within a macro segment, or a VRF. So we typically do that with a security group tag, or scalable group tag, depending on the acronym for it, but it's the same thing. What that does is allow you to provide another level of segmentation within a VRF construct, or macro segmentation. A lot of the times we see that applied for customers to say, I want to segment my IoT traffic via macro segmentation. However, within that segment, I don't want IoT devices to be able to see each other. So then we could do micro segmentation. That's a high level of how I define them.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. Let's see here. Question I have is, what are some common challenges you might encounter while deploying end-to-end macro and micro segmentation? Or as she
Yeah, I'll
takes
go ahead
it.
and take that. I'll grab that one. So, I mean, the main challenges that you'll come across is if, you have different types of hardware, different types of operating systems, different types of versions on those. Like, we really like to have standardization whenever you start interacting with, ICE compatibility, as well as, can this device do SGTs? How many SGTs can it handle? So those are just some common challenges, right? You might have to look at the network environment and figure out where is the best spot to do enforcement if not all your devices, let's say, are SGT capable or trust set capable. So those are some different challenges. We can get a little bit deeper in some upcoming episodes when we dive a little deeper into the mechanics of TrustSec. But those are some things to think about when you're going into those type of projects.
Awesome. All right. Moving on to the next question. Can you describe the options available for integrating BGP EVPN with an SD-WAN fabric? Travis, would you be able to answer that?
I can take that.
Perfect.
Yeah, you saw what we did in our lab, the integration between BGP EVPN and SD-WAN. Majority of the time, it's a 2-box solution. So what does that mean? It means our border node coming out of the fabric has a connection over to the SD-WAN fabric, and we extend the VRF constructs out between the two with VRF Lite. That is the most common way to do it, and probably the most easy supportable way to do it. When we do that, we put those two domains in different BGP autonomous systems. So when we if we dug down into our lab, you would see my BGP EVPN is in one autonomous system, and the SD-WAN fabric is in another autonomous system via BGP, and we did an eBGP connection between them. Why is that important? Some customers say, can I do OSPF? Can I do AIGRP? Can I do, whatever my routing protocol of choice is? Yes, you can. However, it becomes a little more complex. With BGP, there's inherent loop prevention in the protocol. So I don't get feedback loops going between the EVPN network and the SD-WAN network, because BGP is going to look and say, if I see my same AS in the path, I'm going to drop the packet. So that is the most common way to do it. Again, you can use other protocols, but again, they become more complex because you're going to have to write additional safety procedures to prevent the routing loop from occurring.
Thank you. All right. And I don't know if this has been answered already, but we get, where can I find the lab guide itself?
Yeah, I can grab that. So the lab guide itself is a part of when we schedule and kind of give you the lab, you'll be able to actually get the lab guide. It's currently not published publicly, but we can look at, if you have interested in seeing it a little bit deeper, just definitely post some comments for us and we'll get in touch with you. And I can just go ahead and grab that one real quick too. So yeah, I mean, pretty much, Chris, thanks for the comment. We see this a lot. This lab will really help you guys understand kind of the mechanics of everything you got going on with you and your team. So definitely reach out to your Cisco account manager, like you said, and just reference Cross Architecture Lab, reference Travis and I's name, and we'll be sure to help facilitate you with some access to help you and your team out.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I think that does it for all the questions. Before we wrap up, Matt, Travis, do you have any closing thoughts for our audience?
I would say thanks everyone for attending, and bookmark the next couple of sessions where Matt and I will actually build this lab out in a series of additional sessions, and we'll go a little bit deeper than just running through the lab guide. We'll slow down and take our time and let everyone see how this thing comes up. Matt, anything else?
Yeah, no, I would just echo that. Just we're excited to have you guys join us in the following episodes, and we will get deep, we will get technical. We want to answer and help you guys with all the questions that you have, and definitely want to hear from you, and we want to hear your use cases that you'd like to see. We have 3 sessions kind of mapped out for you guys, but we definitely want to hear different use cases, different things that are applicable to your environments, and Travis and I will do our best to in further sessions go through that stuff with you guys. So we do appreciate the time today, and thank you guys very much.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Matt and Travis, for this great session and sharing your knowledge and expertise with our audience. I hope that everyone found great value in today's presentation. Now, I do want to take a moment to cover some quick items. Join us again next month, as Travis and Matt mentioned, on November 7th, as we'll be exploring configuring campus fabrics. If you haven't already, please register to receive email reminders and easily add this session along with the others to your calendar and be notified of the recordings on demand. You can, again, scan that QR code on your screen or register for our Cisco validated virtual event series, or you can use the link provided in the Slido announcement. Lastly, we have just launched the survey on Slido, and we would be so grateful if you could take a moment to complete it and let us know how you'd like today's presentation. We always look forward to receiving your valuable feedback. Thanks again to our presenters and to all of our attendees for joining us live today. I hope that you all have a great day, and we will see you next time.